it in your bag for the day you looking bad as you wanna. Thought you had a man, I made a fat ass of some. Turning necks and pumping brakes. When that ass hit the function, it's time to go to work. Do the math, I'm a punching.
What's good, everybody? What up? This is another episode of the Interlude. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? Damn, we blacked out today.
Yeah, I like it.
I like it. I feel like it fits what we gonna talk about. Honestly, truly. Yeah, man. Getting right into it. We told y'all we was coming tough, coming hard, man. More getting added to the setup every damn day. Every day. Only thing weird about today is like we the only ones here. Yeah. I don't feel like this is
no crew.
This is like has ever happened before. But nonetheless, man, we gonna hop right back into it. And today, this was a topic you want to talk about. I think it's a conversation that will always be relevant and will always be here, but it just looks different depending on what you want to focus on. Mm-hmm. But we're focusing on hip hop origins, or I think as we both would love to hear it be called the get down. The get down, man. But no, so you posed a question. Basically, like, why or do OGs get the respect from who you like to call the internet babies?
The internet babies.
But I think it's such a wider question. Like, I think it can't be that simple because we talk about it all the time. Music is different. Mm-hmm. It's so different than back when hip hop first came out. But I don't think a lot of people really understand that. I think people know different eras and know that there are different type of music, but I don't think they really understand the progression and how far rap has come. Not even just from a commercial standpoint, but from a standpoint of really style, sound, and what rap means. Yeah. I mean, you talk about it all the time. When we talk about culture, how hip hop started, man.
Rap used to be I'm sitting in my room and my mama cooking breakfast and it's not even that no more. It's like you got the give me a Benz. And they're like, that shit crazy, and I ain't gonna fake it. It do hit, like you have moments where it do hit.
But I think about it all the time. I don't know what the fuck that was. Forget me. No, but I think about it all the time. Like I remember when I was in high school, and it was funny. My ex from high school. I'll never hear her telling me this. I don't know why, because it was music related. But I remember saying something about like me thinking like I listened to a wide range of music. But at the time, like in high school, I was only listening to like the lyrical niggas, like the conscious niggas.
That's how I was.
And I thought like that was it. You know, everybody else I was like, oh, that's not
real music.
But I remember she was telling me, she was like, no, like you really don't listen to as much as you think. Like it's better music out there. I'm like, whatever. So I get to college, and then little by little, of course, at college there's certain shit you just gonna hear all the time because it's college. You know what I'm saying? So I started listening to Uzi more. I started listening to Thug more. Like I wasn't a Thug fan until 2016, knowing damn well Thug had been around for
I didn't jump on the Thug wagon to 2017.
I'm saying, so it took a minute for me mentally because like who I came up on, like we talked about in the other episode, who we came up on were lyrical niggas, like that class of rappers that we grew up like associating music with. Your Coles, Big Sean's, Max, Freddie Gibbs, like Wale, even like all them, like those are all relatively like those are lyrical niggas. So that was what I thought music was supposed to be. I didn't even learn about like the true history of hip hop yet. That was just the music that I knew. And the first music I listened to explicit without having the clean version because mine was just controlling the iTunes. But that ain't even the point. So do you feel like the rappers of today truly respect their predecessors?
I feel it.
Do you? I mean, because and respect don't even feel like the right word. Because I feel like naturally there's respect.
Are they knowledgeable of them?
Yeah, but not even in the simple sense of like, oh yeah, I know about them. They had A, B, and C. Like, now, do you really know about like what it meant for some of them to do what they did in their time?
And I don't think, and I honestly, even with artists, I feel like listening. There's that big group that it's like, okay, you might come across his name, but it's really no staple to them as far as what they've done for music and what they've done for hip hop. Like, it's people that has put on for this genre of hip hop that without them, like, nigga, all these awards that so many people have and all these mentions and these conversations that other artists are coming up in, there wouldn't be that, because like when hip hop was first started, like motherfuckers was not, it was not no walking up. hip hop was not even the most popular genre like it is today when it
Right.
first started. You know what I'm saying?
It
Like,
wasn't mainstream. Hip hop was underground for an extremely long time.
underground. Like artists that deserve their flowers. You got artists like Grandmaster Cass, who was the first DJ to rap and DJ simultaneously at the same time.
Which is crazy, but you can't start with Cass and not go before Cass. Like, you can't
True.
not talk about Flash. Like, you
yeah.
can't not talk about Herc. Like,
Oh,
you can't not talk about
at
them.
all.
Like, Cass eventually took it a step further.
Mhm.
But when you just
DJ
even
Kool Herc,
thinking of
Grandmaster Flash.
bro, the idea, like, when you talk about art, that's why I think that's my biggest thing, and I'll probably circle back to that toward the end of the conversation. But I think people don't realize how much of an art hip hop is and had to be to become what it is. And I think a huge part of where there's a disconnect between the generations, outside of I think your common generational disconnects, is that it's still art, but I don't think the appreciation for it is the same.
Appreciation is different
because it's so easy. When you think of Cass, like, nobody had even thought about DJ and rapping at the same time before he did it. And the skill it takes to do that, that's like singing and dancing, or like it's the skill that not everybody possesses and not everybody will be great at. You can't like ignore Furious 5. I mean, even like in Sugar Hill Gang, honestly, I don't know if Sugar Hill Gang really gets. Do you think they get the respect that they deserve? Like, do you think where people hold them generally, like, is where they are supposed to be?
I mean, now the question is posed, where do people hold them? Like, where does the general consensus? Because you wouldn't put them in the conversation of GOAT just with the simple fact off of their biggest hit, Rapper's Delight. But
I think it's just the acknowledgement that was like kind of like the first mainstream rap single.
and
I think that's where it ends, though. Honestly,
and honestly, it doesn't have to go further than that, because without that being the first mainstream rap, like, it's like, okay, what would have been after that, or would there have been something after that? You know what I'm saying? The fact that the airwaves at that time, which was ran strictly, we know what it was. Like, if you wasn't black and singing, you was not getting no airtime. You know what I'm saying?
When you talk about the late 70s, you talking about that's
it.
Disco. Disco. Your soul. You singing. The idea of rap, whatever that was supposed to be, whatever that was. Nah, like,
and you gotta think like that's why you and I appreciate shows like The Get Down, which kind of like, of course, it was fictionalized a little bit, but it still showed the constructs of what hip hop was. Like you just said, disco. That shit really started like out of like disco dance parties when motherfuckers was just on some like scratch the record up and just watch me do some shit.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, the art of the shit. Like, I mean, I think, and a lot of people, I appreciate To Get Down, not only the show, like, not only from a musical standpoint. Obviously, I love the art, like the artistic flair that was put on it. Like, I think that's where some of the fictionalized part comes in. But like, if you think about it, and if you have really done your research on hip hop culture, everything that was put into the aesthetic of that show is the epitome of hip hop culture.
Exactly.
So it's like that. It just made me love it that much more. But yeah, I mean, the art of it though, like, when you like, even watching the show, but when you hear, like, we actually watch interviews and you hear her, Flash, like, all them talk about it, the idea of what they were doing, like, who would have thought I'm gonna take 15 seconds from a disco song without the singing, and I'm gonna turn that shit into a 3-minute song that niggas can just spit on.
And the rest is history.
Like, the shit sound like a dope ass idea. Now everybody sampling is
probably one of the
75% of music.
Exactly. I would say 85% of music.
It might be more, honestly, truly. But like, it was a true pioneering move that I don't think is really even still understood. But I say that more so by the newer generation, the internet babies, as you like to call them.
Yes.
But yeah, but there's so many more. Like, you brought up first MC to sign to a label, and also had the first gold rap single, Curtis Blow, The Breaks, and that's a classic. Like, it's a classic, and the thing, it sounds so different though. Like, if somebody was to be rapping like that today, there's a lot of people that wouldn't vibe with that. It wouldn't hit, and I don't think that's the issue as much as it's like, you gotta appreciate for the time that was new.
But I want to say this, and like, when you talk about art and your artistic expression, I feel like a song, like if somebody was to remix the breaks, which I know a lot of rap OGs, music OGs was like, all right, nigga, if you don't touch this, but if you do touch this, do something with that motherfucker. And
right.
And it's rare few that we can sit here and be like, yeah, I love to see him do that and shit like that. Honestly, a song like that, at that time, I wouldn't want nobody modernly trying to rap like that, because it's just like, it doesn't fit the era of what today is.
It doesn't.
It'll never, like, you can't push a single like that and motherfuckers be like, yeah, that bitch bang. Let me go back and listen to the niggas in the 80s.
But the thing is, I don't even think a lot of rappers today have that skill. Like, I think people undermined the skill. Like, was the rapping very, it was very structured, but at the same time, think of how difficult it is to rap. Like,
you
structure.
You have to say some shit, bro.
Like, and the thing is, it was all about what you were saying. It wasn't about, oh, he ain't really talking about shit, but the melody hit though.
Nah,
this shit hit,
nigga, it was
like, niggas ain't doing nothing in the function, but what this nigga saying?
Yup. Oh, he ain't saying shit.
Ain't saying
Boom! Get that nigga out of here. Now niggas in the function like, damn, this motherfucker peak. I don't know what that nigga saying.
I went to the kitchen.
Yeah.
Maybe I made this.
Whipping and flipping. Niggas be like, bro, that shit go crazy.
So you cooked. That's the purpose of the song.
Yeah, bro, but the shit
sound cold.
Exactly. You be like, nigga.
But the shit slap though.
No, nigga. You be like, no, fuck no.
But the shit slap though. But no, so Curtis Buck, Kool Moe D.
You know what's so crazy? This summer, like when we was doing, when we was going through all of our Zoom edition,
yeah,
shit
Zoom
like
University,
Zoom University, I would really get off of that motherfucker, and like I would, like, my pops, me and him, we had hella conversations this summer just about hip hop and shit like that, and he was like, yeah, you young niggas don't know shit about Kool Moe D, and I was just like, all right, then put me on, and like he played like, I want to say like 3 of his albums, and I was like, for me that kind of made me fall in love with the idea of what hip hop was, like, yeah, because bars, nigga. When I'm talking about bars,
look,
I'm like,
bro,
crazy, bro. Like, he like, yeah, bro, like, and it kind of furthered the conversation when he started bringing up modern rappers, and to hear a nigga like my pops, who, you know what I'm saying, this summer was the first time of us getting close, but to talk about our love for hip hop and that love for music, and the fact that he was around, he was born in that era when it kicked off, and you know what I'm saying, and to see where it is today, he was like, yeah, like, I got respect for a lot of niggas that's in the game today, but he was like, none of them niggas have never touched motherfuckers. Like, he was like, bro, you have to go buy the cassette tape, rerun that bitch back, like, if you was planning for your homeboy, he was just breaking the whole structure down on like how you really sat and listened to an album back then, and he was like, the appreciation for it, he was like, I don't know what y'all do now, but he was like, back then, that appreciation for it when the album dropped, like EPMD, he was like, nigga, when EPMD dropped, everybody's buying that shit.
Said.
I'm like, yo.
Like, bro, I'm saying the support though. Like, now, you know, we know the shit drop on Thursday night. You know, depending on how big the release is, you know,
listen to it when you listen to it.
When you listen to it. If it's really like that, like if it's really an artist you fuck with or you really anticipating it, you mess around probably. You probably get to it that day, like whatever your routine is, whether you rolling up, whether you grabbing something to drink, whatever the case may be. Do what you do. Look, do what you do and let the album ride.
That's it.
But it's not the same. Like, it's not the same as like, oh, I'm gonna get up so I can go buy this CD. Exactly. Or I'm gonna, like, the idea of support. It's so easy. It's so easy to support now, and it's not that like the support is a bad thing, but it's so easy to support because now I can just add the shit. Now I can just go listen to the shit on multiple, you know, music streaming platforms. It's not like I have to go physically get it. So the value of it is not. What's the value of going back to an album that you know is always gonna be there?
Facts.
It's gonna be there even if you don't save it to your phone. It's gonna be there for you to listen to.
And then if you pull up,
it's not like everybody else around you got the record and you got to go to their house to listen to it. Like, it ain't even like that.
Imagine being in that era, like, you getting out of class and your homeboy like, yeah, bro, I just copped the new Whoop Wop the Bam album. Y'all niggas slide through, and then you gotta hit your moms up, like, and you know you don't even got cell phone, so it's just like you gotta go to payphone, hit your moms up, like, look, moms, like, I'm going over Lil JoJo house. We about to listen to this album and shit like that, and it just be that, like. Those are
Lil Shorty Tim.
Those are the moments that like kind of build that aesthetic and that appreciation for what hip hop is. And as we move on to more artists like Melly Mel, Roxanne, Shantae, Roxanne Shantae, when I seen her the biopic on Netflix, bro, it just gave me a lot of it enlightened me on who she was, because I can't sit here and say at that time I knew who she was. Like, I heard the name before, but it was like to see her story, to see who she influenced coming out of Queensbridge and shit like that.
Right.
It's like yo, bro, like Nas walked up to her, like little Nas walked up to her before he was Nasir, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I like things like that for me ascends like those people who pioneered hip hop into those conversations of like, nigga, they're above and beyond the Mount Rushmore. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like without them, there wouldn't be a structure for hip hop Mount Rushmore. Not saying they have to go on there, but it's like those are the niggas up there. You got your Mount Rushmore.
Somebody had to create the platform for the Mount Rushmore to exist.
You know, one thing, like, I know I got a lot of homies, you got a lot of homies, and we always have the debate about who's the best, who's the greatest, and stuff like that. Who makes the best overall sound of music, and all that shit is very appreciated. Like, I love that about music and rap, hip hop. But I feel like it's pivotal that we always need a lyricist leading the charge in hip hop, because it's like it keeps you grounded on your roots. It keeps the new people, like the next generation, knowing like, okay, this is what rap is, this is what hip hop is, these are the differences of it, but let's kind of still show that appreciation. You know what I'm saying? Like you and I have had the privilege of being born in the 90s but growing up in the early 2000s. You know what I'm saying? Experienced teenage years in the 2010s, and like when music was just like hip hop and the sound of everything. And then we had Soulja Boy, we had all this other shit. You know what I'm saying? Like we experienced a lot from the 90s to now, and it's just like the people that's coming after us, I don't want them to ever forget of what hip hop came from. You know what I'm saying? Like, I talk to young cats now, and I be like, you know, LL Cool J was that nigga in the 80s, and they just like, who?
That's wild. When people don't know about certain artists, I'm like, yo, wait.
I be like, just put it like this. He was Drake before Drake. I'm gonna put it like that.
Listen.
For the 80s and the 90s, LL Cool J was that nigga. You had, for 80s rap, bro, you had KRS-One. You had Rakim, Chuck D, Ice Cube, Ice-T, Mike D.
You had,
Run DMC. Come, let's talk. Run.
Slick Rick.
Slick fucking Rick, bro. Big Daddy Kane. Like, actually, Big Daddy Kane is actually one of my favorite lyricists. Like,
Big Daddy Kane a GOAT, bro.
Talk to these niggas, Steve.
No, like, nah, for real. Like, when you talk about one of the first niggas in rap that had like that moved like he was that dude.
Talk to these niggas, Steve.
The man's name is Big Daddy Kane.
Talk to these niggas, Steve.
But on top of that, he was spitting though. Like, it's just. Yeah, Kane was. I mean, he was like, you gotta think, bro. This is a man that's walking around with canes and shit. Bro. Always dressed to the nines and stuff. And it's like, man,
they had that flair. Like, you got like all of these rappers that we just named. Like, they had that flair of like the baggy clothes, but it wasn't no sagging and shit like that.
Nah, they still. I mean, they still for the time. But something else I noticed about a lot of these artists that we just named, they were also all. I won't say extremely, but they were all relatively political, or enough to where that can be associated with their brand as an artist. And a lot of them transitioned to the 90s, which I feel like was a little bit more of a political era than the 80s was. But all of them, saying that to say, all of them rapped about something. All of them like wanted to give a message in their music. In their music was a message to everybody. It was a message to people that look like them, but it was also a message to people that weren't, that don't look like us and that aren't us, to let y'all know, like, we here. Like, this is an art form that should be respected. This is an art form that will be appreciated, and more importantly, you can't take away our truth. And I think that's what people like. Man, like, rap is the reality in terms of like what they're talking about, but even the culture of hip hop and rap is the reality for so many people. And a lot of people talk, bad about the genre sometimes, especially, I mean, not so much now, because of course it's one of the, most popular genres, if not the most popular genre in today's music. But beforehand, before it really had that breakthrough, you had people dismissing rap, not realizing that just like y'all tell y'all stories through song, like this is how we tell our stories, like through these rhymes, through these beats, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's extremely important. I think we start to see rap kind of have a true breakthrough, not like to the mainstream status it has now. But I think the 90s was when they really hit that era. But, but when you talk about culture and presence, I think the 90s is when
golden age
really took off.
Golden age, like
yeah,
for 90s. And I know so many people say they wish they grew up in the 90s, you know what I'm saying? But it's like even then, if you was growing up in the 90s, you wouldn't cognitively like remember and experience it. It's like you gotta grow up in the 80s and then experience the 90s, you know what I'm saying? Like, nigga, rap at that time, let's say hip hop, cause
I don't think it really made that transition into rap.
At that time, bro, you had your biggies, you know what I'm saying? You had DMX who hit the scene late, but like nigga released 2 albums and then bitches went platinum, you know what I'm saying, in the same year.
Hey, you know, honestly, it might be another conversation for another day, but I don't know if DMX gets talked about enough.
He does.
I don't know. I think there needs to be more of a conversation about his impact. I'm not necessarily saying to compare him to anybody, but I think the impact of him, his sound, his style, his different approach to music, I think in an indirect way paved the way for there to be open-mindedness toward styles that weren't stereotypical.
Exactly. Do you believe that the styles of like DMX and I wouldn't want someone to say Ja Rule, but those that kind of, and that's getting into like the early 2000s, but gave way to give more of that, I can cross over that pop wave as well too. I can cross over into like, you gotta think DMX was rocking out stages like motherfucker shit that looked like Woodstock, goddamn there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And motherfuckers was really bumping with that. You got your Big L's, you got your Nasty Nas, you got your Lauryn Hills, your Andre 3000, Outkast as a whole, Ice Cube, which, you know, he still had his time in the 90s. You got Pac, Redman, Big Boy, you got Hove, you know, you can't forget Hove. It's like 90s hip hop, and there's so many others that we haven't named, but it's just like that was truly the golden age. You got your lyrics, you got your all around people showcasing their skills, you know, and let's not to mention the women that we haven't even talked about. The Queen Latifahs, your MC Lights, your Lady of Rages, you know what I'm saying? Like all of these hip hop at that time, the brand of what it was, you knew that 10 years from now this would be the biggest genre in the world just off of what you were seeing, what you was hearing, the videos that people were putting out at the time. Like, they was very beautifully crafted and shit like that. Like, niggas wasn't just like, oh yeah, let's go record off our phone or off this shit. Like nah, niggas is really sitting down constructing everything how they want to do. I just like at that time, man, like, I don't know, 80s is like, okay, late 70s or all the entire 80s, it's like, okay, this is the setup for it.
Yeah.
But 90 was like, I'm taking a baton and I'm taking that bitch beyond of what anybody can ever think of it. And it's just like, how can the internet babies not appreciate you know, what 90s have given us? And some have gone back and reflected into shit like that. And I also do like, you know, how hip hop is competitive, where you got your internet baby that's like, fuck all that shit that you talking about, like, this is the now. And it's like, okay, if you saying this is the now, show me something other now. Show me what something that I haven't heard before, which is kind of hard to do. Like, yeah, your sound is different, like your Scotts, you know, your Gunners, your Babies, and your all these other people, your Uzis. But it's like, okay, show me, besides the flow, show me something outside of that.
Yeah, I think you can't. I don't think that's where the disconnect happened.
You think it's not?
The disconnect happened in terms of era.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's so much where the disconnect is. And I think it's something that doesn't get talked about enough. But, and also this decade is, for whatever reason, extremely disrespectful and extremely unappreciated.
Oh yeah, disrespectful as
no,
hell.
but when I and not this era of rap now, I'm saying, like, so the era of the 2000s, like that decade, I don't think people realize that that's when the real shift in music started to happen. Like, when you think about it, the 90s, it was still a pretty very clear distinction. This is R&B or soul.
Yeah.
This is hip hop. This is rap. The 2000s, that's when you start to see. Think about it. Also, you got Nate Dogg, who came from mid to late 90s into the early 2000s. Then from Nate Dogg, you get your T-Pains, you get Ye, you get Drake later on in the decade. You get these people that start really blurring the lines. So once that happens, you gotta think for a lot of people that are rapping now, them niggas is our age. So what do they know? As much as we know, unless they went back and did their history. So they probably only know of at best maybe the 90s rappers at best. But what musically what they know is from the 2000s to now. Like musically,
which is what was 2000 was very melodic. It wasn't.
Which is why now there's almost not really a clear distinction on what you want to classify something as. Like look at somebody like Black. In all honesty, he can fall into multiple categories, like by technicality of style and approach. Like he does both, but his music is such a fusion that like I never want to label him just one. I always gotta get a distinction. Like he's an artist. He can do a lot. If you want him to just do his version of singing, he can do that. If you want him to spit, he can spit. If you want him to hop on a up tempo pop ish track, he can. Like you know what I'm saying. So. And even then, all those other genres are starting to intertwine themselves, like using more rap elements or hip hop elements in their music, and I think that's beautiful too. Because also, like you mentioned something earlier about you talking with your pops and like him kind of showing you like things about like older rap that you didn't know, and you kind of falling back in love with it. Something I didn't realize, like me and my dad never really had the conversation, but like that nigga always playing jazz. Never fails, no matter what he doing. Whole basketball game could be on. That nigga is playing Kenny G. It does not matter. His jazz is playing in the background. But and I never like disliked it. It was one of them things like, damn, he's still playing jazz. It didn't I didn't realize the effect it was having on me. Fast forward to now, I always try to keep up with like Soul Action Radio, and I find myself like more alternative music, hip hop that has like jazz elements, jazz fusion. I'll be like, nah, that's hard, because I feel like when you can really take, if you can take a good amount of elements from one genre and accurately fuse it with another genre and still make great music,
it just makes your love for music so much broader.
You just have, because you have to appreciate what it takes to understand how to fuse them. Right. You can't just throw something jazz related with anything hip hop related and expect the shit to work or sound good.
It's not gonna happen like that.
You got to figure out like, okay, like how much of one genre do I want to use? Like what's the leading genre?
It's like you cooking. That's basically all you doing. Like
you cooking. So, but you see all that, and you see this, and we get back to this transition of now where. When you look at this new age of rap, when you look at whether you want to call them mumble rap, internet babies, whatever you want to call them, when you look at them, it's like I don't think it's right to make it seem like they're wrong for making type of music they're making, or that it's bad music, or that not even that they don't even appreciate the art, because I won't say that there's too many artists that don't appreciate rap and appreciate it as an art and respect it in that manner. But I just think it's tough to make that call. It's tough to make that judge. I mean, it's tough to judge that. But back to the original question, I guess, how does respect happen? How does it work in this situation? Because you can respect somebody from a distance in the sense of like, I get that, like you said before, like I get that was you in that time. If they ask, what does that mean to me now? Like, no, I'm legitimately ask, like, what's the answer? Because one could argue, if they respect what they did, what exactly are they supposed to be doing now that shows that respect outside of acknowledging it? Like, we can't ask them to be them because they won't be. They never will be. Just like I don't think any of them would be able to do what they're doing. It's all art. It's all great music at the end of the day. But like, what do we? Because I feel like we still on the same page. Like, what do we want to see from this era of rap in respect to what the eras before brought to the table?
I feel like a lot of people want to see. And I know I say this a lot, and like it's like kind of driving the nail in it, but it's like to see if they really have that, just like can sit down and write some shit out. And like, because the sound is shifting to where a lot of folks, you can tell like, okay, this shit is freestyle. Yeah. Like this nigga did this shit in 15 seconds, and and it's just that. But to see somebody, okay, let me sit down, write out my full bars. Oh, somebody coming in the booth. Oh, I'm hearing his shit. No, I want to scratch it. I want to come back. Like, you want to hear people trying to put out their best bars when they make a song, and not just saying like, I'm gonna do this, let me get my check. And that's okay, that's perfectly fine if you want to just get your bread. But if you gonna say that, if you want to be in a conversation of rappers, hip-hops, and say that you're the best, then I need you to show like, okay, nigga, why is motherfuckers W the best, and not just off the sound, but you giving your best bars every time a track come out with your name featured on it, with you putting it out solely just you, like anything, like put out your best bars. I feel like that's what's gonna bring back, okay, this nigga fucks with and loves and appreciates the root of what hip-hop derived from. You know what I'm saying? Like, instead of just saying, and it, like what I just said, like you got a lot of internet babies just like, I'm the best nigga out, and it's like, okay, you saying that, but nigga, give me your bars. And you got your nigga that just be like the shit that we just did, it's just like, nigga, what the fuck was that? You know what I'm saying? But I honestly think that's what it is. Do you feel like the situation that we're in, that many people feel like it is what it is, or do you feel like there will be some that's still like, hey, look, nigga, like I'm gonna put out my best bars? Like, how do you feel?
I mean, I think you still got some, because I mean, you gonna always have some of them generational talents. You gonna always have some people that have a deeper respect for some of the pioneers before them, and not deeper respect like others don't. But like you said, some in it because it's a money maker. Some in it because they got the resources, the shit pop, and
they got the fuck out. They got out.
And it ain't even that. Some people may come in with it like, if I get to a certain point, I'm just gonna ride the wave. Everybody don't care about longevity. And as long as not even that you gotta acknowledge that up front, but as long as you're not walking around making it seem like you wanna have this place and this culture, then cool. But if you're gonna make that statement, or if you're gonna claim that in songs, whatever the case may be, or just claim it, period, that has to show in every aspect. So like if you because you gotta think about it. Any rapper that's truly said that he's the greatest or has felt that they're the greatest has been somebody who has at least dedicated their career to trying to perfect their craft. You don't hear too many, like when you look at a lot of your trap rap, when you look at a lot of your mumble rap, ain't too many of them niggas really walking around saying they the GOAT or trying to be the GOAT.
They're not.
And it's cool because in that regard, now it can be like if Yachty, or if, like for me personally, Future, like I'm not a huge fan, but when artists like that drop projects, I mean, man, he made great music. By the way, finally got around to listening to High Off Life. Don't know what it was about yesterday. That bitch slapped though. I don't know what it was, because when I played it the first time, I did not have the same emotions.
Wow.
But here we are. Nonetheless,
as long as you appreciate it now, that's
no. I mean, like, I appreciate good music, and I've always thought that Future made good music. I just feel like Future falls into the pocket of artists, which a lot do, where they have a niche, like,
and that's it.
That's it, and that's fine. I don't see him progressing and moving himself up in the conversation, but I also don't think he really wants to, and I don't think that's his style either, because he's not a lyricist.
I ain't gonna fake it.
Right,
ever since I first started listening to Future, if you listen to him now, and if you go back, I'm not looking for Future to give me bars. It's gonna be like, oh man, this nigga's in the conversation of the J. Cole's and the Kendricks and the Drakes and the Wale's, anybody that we consider lyricism of today's modern rap. He ain't in that, but Future would give me something that's like, this shit make me feel good, or this shit make me feel like I'm superior to whatever the fuck I'm feeling or dealing with. And we need music like that. Like, we don't need niggas like Future to try to jump in the category of like what you just said, to say, nigga, I'm the greatest rapper of all time. Like, nigga, sit down, motherfucker. Go back into your lane.
I'm so weak.
Stay in your lane. Like we've always said, like, and we've said this in our previous season, like, there's tiers and there's lanes of hip hop. Yeah. If you gonna sit there and try to cross over into a different tier and lane, nigga, bring your A game, cause we niggas will talk about you, and you can't be mad. It's like the conversation with Wale. Like, when I was in Chicago and I was debating, my homies about the conversation of Wale and Travis Scott. Not saying to like bring that up, but it's like, they was basically saying, and I understand, it's like, if Wale, if you gonna say you that nigga, which niggas know you have the skill, then each time you put out a track, it's not like niggas are overlooking it, but it's like the sound has to be there from the production and shit like that. And your bars, like, nigga, we know you got it, but it's like, you're not consistent with it at all.
Yeah, and consistency is always a hard argument. I think, and again, I think that consistency now, because the demand is completely different and it's way higher. So back in the day, the OGs, you could drop a project and it's like whatever your break was your break was, because literally it was like,
that's all niggas wanted to hear.
One, people wasn't dropping every fucking day and every week, so it wasn't really like you was in competition like that or felt the pressure to have to release something.
Well,
we wasn't going to do features. So when you look at things now, when you look at rap in the last decade, last 10 years, I mean maybe even a little bit more if you want to stretch back into the 2000s, but more people are releasing more music, and then on top of that, there's more people that are in your genre, in your specific lane, that can take your fans, therefore taking your money. So therefore there's more pressure to release music more consistently so you can stay relevant, because now your money is attached to how relevant you are, not so much you just doing what you love and putting out a great project. Some artists are in that realm and they perfectly fine, cool. But for the Wale argument, I'm saying all that to say, consistency is tough, because you're asking the artist to be consistent. What if they not in that space? What if they switching teams who they work with? What if they want to experiment and everything don't hit? When you make it to where the argument is going to be they not consistent, it's the same way people could argue Cole's inconsistent, because they could say that For Your Eyes Only was a drop-off album, and to the average fan, to the average listener, I completely get your argument. But if you can respect that album, especially after giving context to it from Cole himself, if you can respect that album in the light that it was meant to be held in, it don't gotta be compared or considered in any other capacity other than what it was meant for. So I think consistency is a hard argument, because we not in the place of those artists. We just want the shit.
Yeah.
Us demanding it is the easy part. Them giving it is the difficult part.
Yeah.
And their livelihood depends on that a lot of times.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like I just think that's, and not that they wrong, but at the same time it's like, I think that's just something that needs to be considered. Don't sit there, because if you can acknowledge that he has a talent and skill, and if you can acknowledge that he can put together a good project, you can acknowledge that a project wasn't good, but don't make it seem like he chose to necessarily have a bad project. I don't think anybody sits there like, this project, nobody sits there like, yeah, album done, this shit pretty trash, I'm gonna go ahead and release that bitch though. Like, nobody, if you sitting there and saying that, that's a problem. Like, don't do that shit. But I mean, in general, like, nobody puts something out with the thought or intention of it being received like it's trash. The hip hop conversation could go on for days, honestly. But I mean, I think a way to wrap this up is just, what do you think has been the biggest change in music in the last, we going on about 40? We like a little bit over 40 years, 40 and some change of hip hop, of rap. What do you think? What is the biggest change that you've liked, that you've seen in the last 40 plus years, and then what is a change that you want to see in the next
one of the biggest changes that we have seen is more artists open to working with each other, like pushing the next person's music. You know what I'm saying? Like, back then it was like, if this is my platform, if this is my throne, if this is my time, I'm not sharing that spotlight with anybody. I don't.
You don't think people collabed enough?
I mean, like, no, like they did, but it's like now, like, you seeing niggas on tracks that you're like say for instance, Dirk just hopped on Nas' album, like back in the day, like you not getting fucking songs like that, to my knowledge, you're not.
I mean, I think I won't say it's far and few between. It's not like it was hellish happening, but I think you have moments where certain artists, like, you got to think of how labels were at the time too. Like, if you want Death Row and you a newcomer artist, it's a high, because of the way the label works, it's a high chance you might end up on Pac album, or it's a high chance you might end up on Dre album, or whatever the case may be. Because all y'all doing the same shit anyway. You got to think of how they operated when all three of them were there. When Snoop, Dre, and Pac was there, like, everybody was on everybody's shit. But if you talk about it from in terms of maybe putting people on, I could see that argument a little bit more. I don't think you had people really taking artists under their wing and trying to help them.
It was just like, I give you
the
the nod, nigga, but you know, keep doing your thing. And that was like one of them behind the scenes things.
Yeah.
And now it's like niggas, you got niggas going public like, yeah, that nigga, he's that, or I listen to this and stuff like that. So I appreciate that. What I would like to see more of, I mean, you know me, and I'm sure people that have watched us plenty of time, straight up bars, nigga, like.
We dead, bro. The days are dead. It's not gonna happen. There's no point in holding out hope for this era where rap goes back to just being about bars.
And I know it's just
bars don't sell no more, bro.
It doesn't.
Bars don't sell. You do not need bars to sell.
So I pose the question to you: what have you seen that you love in recent years, and what do you want to see more of?
I've loved experimentation. Because I feel like when you think of music in general, like that's when some of the best music, when you step out your comfort zone, when you try shit you ain't think you was ever gonna try, when you try to switch it up, and it's not like you get out of your lane, but you just try different shit and not being afraid of what's gonna happen. Cause like it's kind of like the same thing with cancel culture. It's the same mindset of, oh, he released a bad project, I'm gonna hop off him as a fan. That's stupid. Like you can acknowledge that maybe that wasn't it, but if you've already established yourself as like liking something that they done, how you just hop off of them doing something different? Like imagine going through life, and I mean, this happens, but imagine going through life and like you lose friends because you start having to prioritize shit differently, or you try something else out that maybe they didn't agree with. Like that's trash. It happens. But like it's trash. So when thinking about it that way, it's like I love that people are more willing to experiment and that they're doing it unapologetically. Because we've gotten some great things out of people experimenting. When you look at the Pepper Butterfly, that was all experimentation. He hadn't been doing jazz shit before. It was his second album. He hadn't been doing jazz shit, but he experimented and it came out great. You know, is there some misses? Sure, but you also never know. People that start manipulating their voice and playing around with stuff like that. Sometimes you hit a pocket and this shit, and it works. It hits. So I love the experimentation aspect of it. And then something I want to see going forward, like I want to see, it might be kind of tough, but I want to see artists take that leap. And I hate feeling like I see artists get content. And it becomes this thing of, you know, I'm doing well for me, you know, like, you know, this and third, like, nah, like, nigga, if you like that, and not even so much like you want to be the GOAT, but like if you like that, show you like that. Yeah. Like come like that every single time. It ain't even gotta be about you wanting to be the best necessarily. Like if you got bars, show it. Prove it. Like every opportunity. Like there should be no feature, no song that you do that's half-assed. And I feel like we get that a lot because it's the thing of, oh, I can release a single, I'm gonna make bread off that shit, off the streaming and shit alone, and I just need to come up right quick, so I'm gonna do that. Or I'm gonna test it, but I know I'm gonna get a benefit of getting, you know, money off of it, so it's whatever. That shit, to me, that shit translates into projects. Whether I feel like artists think about that or not. I mean, I feel like it can, because if that's your mentality, yeah, I know people got the opportunity to lock in.
You're gonna put out a whole tape and it's just gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna put out 18 tracks on this bitch. Motherfuckers gonna keep buying it. Go ahead, throw out a deluxe, put 4 more on it.
I'll end it and say this. What artists should not do is be like the Clippers.
And that is it for episode 4 of the Interlude, man.
Clippers, fuck y'all for losing. Because I actually had y'all winning.
Laker Nation, baby. Fuck what you saying.
Bron definitely probably gonna get the 4th. But neither here nor there. Until next time, until this next episode, with love. Peace.
Yes, sir.
Back for the day, you looking bad as you wanna.